In my previous life, I had a net worth of 5 billion, yet I lived my whole life in regret. My wife was slandered, and I believed it. She jumped into the river holding our twin daughters. In this life, when I opened my eyes, I was back in 1985. She was bracing the door with all her strength, her eyes ringed with bruises. I held her shoulders and said, "I won't let you suffer anymore." She cried and said, "I really don't have any money left." Only at that moment did I understand that some debts can never be repaid, even in a lifetime. A headache struck like lightning. I jolted upright from the bed and gasped sharply. I slipped picking up a bar of soap, and the recoil was this strong. After a long moment, I looked around. The dark, heavy mosquito net barely let in any light. A tiled roof, mud walls, a dirt floor. Isn't this my hometown? Wasn't it demolished long ago? I got up, picked up a shard of mirror from the broken table, and looked at myself. Younger. Back to 20. Awesome. The date on the wall calendar further confirmed my thoughts. 1985, when China's economy was just taking off, and also the turning point in my Chen family's fate. That year, my wife Han Shuya was slandered as a loose woman, and I, that bastard, actually believed it. To prove her innocence, she threw herself into the river with our twin daughters. My parents couldn't take the blow. The next year, my father died of depression, and my mother lost her mind and disappeared. It was only after my family was destroyed that I came to my senses and left for another place. I sold barbecue, worked street stalls, went into coal mines, and sailed out to sea. Later, I established myself in the Pearl River Delta, and in 2008 I caught the internet boom and made a fortune. By 2022, my net worth was 5 billion, and I had a listed company. But I was never happy. I spent my whole life trying to make up for my mistakes, but sadly, it was too late. The reason my head was splitting was because I had taken the coffin my old man had prepared for himself, hauled it to the county with a few village hoodlums, sold it for 15 bucks, and then immediately dragged my drinking buddies to a restaurant and squandered it all. When my old man got the news and rushed to the county, he couldn't even scrape together 15 bucks and could only watch helplessly as his coffin was resold to someone else. After coming back, he saw me still drunk and beating my wife. So he swung his carrying pole and cracked me on the back of the head, killing me. I am still called Chen An now, but I carry the memories of my later life. Voices came from outside the door. I opened the door. Several people were standing in the yard, and my father, Chen An, was squatting on the ground smoking in sullen silence. If I'd known he'd raise a father like this, I should have smashed him against the wall when he was born. My old man's face was full of rage, on the verge of tears, but with none to shed. My mother was wiping away tears at the side. The others were trying to comfort him. It's fate. There are still many days ahead. You can slowly save up for another one. I walked out of the room, and everyone turned to look at me at once. The moment Chen An saw me, he grabbed the carrying pole and was about to charge at me, but someone stopped him. "No matter what, you're still his father." Pointing at me in fury, my old man cursed. "He's the one who's my father." Han Shuya, who was guarding the door, reacted quickly and shoved me back into the room, using her body to brace the door. "Shuya?" Seeing her, I was so excited I didn't know what to do. The afternoon sunlight streamed in through the crack in the door and fell on her lovely face. Delicate features, big watery eyes, and a tall, graceful figure at 1.7 meters. But the bruises at the corners of her mouth, around her eyes, and on her arms ruined all of that beauty completely. "What are you doing?" She looked at me in panic. The two of us were almost face to face, and she instinctively stepped back until her back was pressed against the door. Having been beaten into fear, she recoiled from me on instinct. I pressed one hand on her shoulder and braced the door with the other. Even after losing her for 37 years, I had never forgotten her. If not for my cowardice and incompetence back then, she and the children would not have left forever. As I am now, all I want is to make it up to them with all my strength. I won't let you suffer any more grievances. No matter how you count it, our terrible relationship didn't even last 3 years. The old me would come back dead drunk and, at the slightest displeasure, grab her by the hair and beat her. Even so, she never thought of leaving. She even cleaned up my vomit, and in winter, while on her period, went into the icy river to wash my clothes. When I was knocked unconscious just now, it was also she and mother who carried me back to the bed. The old me was a bastard, indifferent to everything she gave. But the me now has long since turned over a new leaf. Seeing my wife again, I was so emotional that I forgot we actually weren't that familiar. But to Han Shuya, there was a condition behind what I said. "I really don't have any money left." She turned her head away, tears streaming down her face. I froze for a moment, and a bitter smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. During the slack farming season, Han Shuya did needlework with the village women to earn money. It wasn't much, but money was money. The old me treated her like an ATM, saying nice things to trick money out of her whenever I was broke. When lies are told too often, no one believes the truth anymore. If I couldn't get money from her, I'd beat her brutally. Now, she only hoped there were more people outside, so I might go easier on her. However, the brutal beating never came. I gently wiped away her tears. Is this some new trick? After a while, I said, I won't hit you again from now on. Then I opened the door and walked out. Outside, Chen An had temporarily given up the idea of beating me to death and just kept puffing on his pipe. When he saw me come out, he turned his face away, unwilling to look at me again. Seeing things had calmed down, everyone else also went back home. Only our family was left in the yard. I spoke sincerely. Dad, Mom, I've made things hard for you. No, I can't accept that. You are my dad. Chen An said irritably. I didn't say anything more. The old me really had been too much of a bastard. Saying nice things alone was useless. Only real actions could change the family's opinion of me and let them live better lives. As it grew dark, it was time for dinner. I ate a little casually and then headed out. There were 2 bamboo baskets in the yard that Dad used for fishing, and I picked them up and left. Carrying a flashlight, I came to the riverside, rolled up my pant legs, and stepped into the water. This river flowed down from the mountain. Upstream there were many rocks and sand, and the water was very shallow, only reaching my ankles. Under the dim yellow beam of the flashlight were densely packed wild mountain snails and little mountain crabs. Without another word, I started picking them into the bamboo baskets. Picking mountain snails was like picking up stones. They were quite large, the biggest as big as bottle caps. Right now people were all busy working, and only occasionally would someone come to gather mountain snails. There were so many that it felt like I was picking up gold. The big mountain crabs could grow to 3 centimeters in diameter, and most were about bottle cap size. I didn't mind at all, and picked up everyone I saw. After feeling around in the water for several hours, by nearly midnight, both bamboo baskets were full. Looking at the bountiful haul, I felt incredibly satisfied. After returning home, I put the 2 kinds of things separately into the water vat. I went into the house as carefully as possible, afraid of waking Han Shuya and the other 2. Back in the separate room in the yard, I began spending my first night after being reborn. The next day I got up very early. I went into the kitchen to make breakfast for the family. There was only a little rice left at home, enough to last at most one more day. But I had a way to get money by today. I rinsed the rice and put it into the pot, first simmering it over the fire. I picked 10 fat mountain crabs from the vat. In my previous life, when I had just started out, I made a living as a street vendor. So I handled the mountain crabs with practiced ease, quickly removing the gills and chopping them in half. When the congee was almost done, I threw the mountain crabs into the pot, added scallion, ginger, garlic, oil, and salt, and simmered it for another 10 minutes or so. A pot of delicious, fragrant mountain crab congee was ready. After Han Shuya got up, she was just about to make breakfast for the children and her parents-in-law. But when she reached the kitchen, she saw that I had already finished, and the whole room was filled with the smell of rice porridge and an unfamiliar aroma. She couldn't believe her eyes. Chen An was actually making breakfast in the kitchen? She rubbed her eyes hard, thinking she was dreaming, but her hungry stomach reminded her that this was not a dream. You're awake? Come have some porridge. I filled a big bowl of crab porridge for her. Careful, it's hot. Wild mountain crab. It's delicious, so eat without worry. Han Shuya instinctively became wary and said through gritted teeth, You want to drug us unconscious and then sell the child? She hadn't expected me to be such a beast, but she soon realized she was wrong. Hearing that, I felt helpless too. Eager to prove myself, I ladled some porridge from the pot and drank it. Even when it scalded my mouth, I ignored it. See, it's not poisoned, knowing that no matter how much I said it would be useless. After washing the bowls, I wiped my hands on my clothes and was about to head out. Only then did Han Shuya realize that she had been too sensitive. Where are you going? If it were before, I would still be fast asleep at this hour. If she got up early and disturbed me, a savage beating would be unavoidable. Now, not only had I gotten up early to make porridge, but why was I going out so early too? Those bad influences of mine were probably just falling asleep around now. I turned around and gave a gentle smile. To go make money. I cleaned 20 mountain crabs. At noon you can use them to make porridge. And when I come back tonight, you and the child will be able to eat meat. After saying that, I went into the yard, secured 2 brimming large bamboo baskets onto the handcart, and pulled it as I walked out. Wait. Han Shuya chased after me, holding a military canteen in her hand, and stuffed it into my arms, along with a flatbread. Eat it on the way. No matter how much he failed as a man, he was still her man. I was in such a hurry to leave that I had forgotten this. Taking the canteen, I looked into her eyes and smiled. Thank you. Han Shuya blushed, turned her head, and ran back inside. Longmen Village was 10 li of mountain road from the county town, full of ups and downs. Even the old ox at the village chief's house had to stop and rest several times on one trip. But with a goal in mind, I only wanted to get to the county as soon as possible and sell these 2 baskets of wild goods. When I was thirsty, I took a sip from the canteen. The water was sweet and refreshing. When I was hungry, I bit into the flatbread. It could keep me going for 2 more li. Hurrying the whole way, I finally arrived in Yeshan County. Back when I was loafing around, I ate plenty of late-night snacks, so I knew where the food stalls were, and I knew even better what dishes they served. The food stalls didn't open during the day, but they still needed to prep ingredients. I pulled the handcart to the stall I used to frequent. The owner and his wife were washing and trimming vegetables. Boss, want some mountain snails? The owner looked up at me. Yes. How much do you have? Snails were a substantial dish at food stalls, something nearly every table ordered. In those days, there was no such thing as farming them. They were all picked up casually by people working in the fields, in small scattered amounts and uneven sizes. No one specifically picked them to sell either. There was already too much farm work to handle. On top of that, everyone had been frightened by those 10 years, and the charge of profiteering still hung over them like a mountain. I pointed at the handcart and said, "This basket. How much per jean?" The owner held up 2 fingers, 2 mao. Back then, field snails, mountain snails, and stone snails weren't distinguished. They were all the same price. I estimated that this basket, after removing the shells, would yield 40 jean. Last night, I had used every ounce of strength to carry it home. Calculated that way, I could make 8 yuan. At that time, a worker's monthly wage was only 40, and I could make 8 yuan from this one basket. And it was sustainable. That already put me ahead of 99% of the country. I then patted the other basket. "Boss, I'll sell you this basket of wild mountain crabs too. Want them? The taste is definitely delicious." The owner took one look, saw they were all small crabs, and shook his head. "I won't take them." Those years had only just emerged from famine. Even pork fat was more expensive than lean meat, and people's craving for meat was etched into their bones. Crabs were all shell. Only the big ones had a bit of meat, and even then they didn't fetch a high price. These of mine are small, and once the shells are removed, there's barely any meat. They're troublesome to process and won't sell for a good price. But I was confident I could convince him. "Boss, don't be in such a hurry. Don't be fooled by how small these wild mountain crabs are. They're valuable all over and far tastier than river crabs or lake crabs. If you don't believe me, I'll cook them for you here on the spot to taste. It's almost mealtime anyway. If you're not satisfied after eating it, I'll give you this whole basket of crabs for free. No matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat." What boss would turn down something free? Really? Really? The boss agreed. But the boss's wife wasn't happy. "Oh, you sure know how to pick your timing. Coming right at mealtime. These days, whose family isn't short on clothes and food? Even the ingredients and seasonings at a food stall cost money." I said, "Ma'am, I'm not here to freeload a meal. If you think what I make later isn't good enough, I'll turn around and leave. I definitely won't touch even half a grain of your rice." "Young man, your words had better mean something. Don't worry." The food stall's wok was set up outside, and after getting the boss's permission, I took 20 mountain crabs from the basket, chopped them in half, and cleaned them thoroughly. Then ladled out several spoonfuls of oil from the basin. Only a restaurant like this could have so much oil. When the boss's wife saw me scooping several big spoonfuls at once, it broke her heart, and she cursed a few times from the side. But this was all used oil that they recycled and reused. Using it here didn't mean I was taking it away. I heated the oil over high heat, and it soon came to a boil. I put the prepared mountain crabs into the wok of oil. Sizzle! Bursts of white bubbles rose from the oil. The crab legs were small and easy to cook, and the aroma quickly drifted up. The boss's wife had been full of disdain, mentally calculating how much of their oil would be used up frying these crabs. But the moment she smelled the fragrance, her eyes instantly lit up. The boss beside her had been watching with his arms folded, but when he caught the aroma, he lowered his arms. The couple moved toward the oil wok at the same time. As I fried them, I said, "Mountain crabs have a high salt content, so there's no need to add salt. Fry them this way until golden. Fry them a little longer, and the crab shells will turn crispy too." High-end ingredients often require only the simplest cooking methods. Hearing that last line, the boss's eyes widened. Damn, that sounded philosophical. And the smell really was insanely good. In those days, Oil was still a rare commodity. Having a few drops of oil in any dish already counted as living well, and people could only smell this kind of deep-fried aroma when rendering lard. The boss and his wife had already been defeated by the fragrance, saliva constantly welling up in their mouths. Passers-by stopped too. "Boss, what are you frying? It smells amazing. How much is it? Give me a portion too." A few passers-by were drawn over. It was mealtime and they were already hungry, and after smelling this aroma, they couldn't hold back even more. The boss and his wife exchanged a glance. Could they really attract customers in broad daylight? They knew it was thanks to my fried mountain crabs. How could they not do business when it came to their door? So the boss said, "This is a new dish our shop is testing. Everyone can have a free taste later. If you think it's delicious, please go back and tell your friends. It's this shop, and only this shop has it." When the onlookers heard they could try it for free, it was simply like striking the jackpot in these times. "Boss, you're generous. Good again, food stall. We've remembered this place. Isn't it ready yet?" Everyone unconsciously crowded around the wok because they could see there wasn't much in it. And if they were even a moment too slow and the free food was gone, they'd go home and slap themselves twice. I picked up the skimmer and fished out the fried mountain crabs. "All right, out of the wok. Just eat them directly." Freshly scooped out of the scorching hot oil wok, the onlookers immediately reached out to grab some. It already smelled so good. Once it hit their mouths, wouldn't it be heaven? Seeing this scene, the boss knew this dish had to go on the menu from today on. Fortunately, there weren't many onlookers. Each person picked up half a crab, blew on it to cool it, and then popped it straight into their mouth. One bite filled their mouth with oil and the fresh flavor of mountain crab. Absolutely wonderful. Never in their lives had they eaten so much oil all at once, let alone something this fragrant. Every cell in their bodies felt like it was about to explode. I picked up a half and held it out to the boss. "Have a taste." The boss took it and put it in his mouth. The muscles in his mouth suddenly went weak with the rush of flavor. For the first time in his 30-odd years, he had tasted something this delicious, and tears immediately streamed down his face. "It's damn delicious, and very crispy, breaks apart with one bite. Can you even eat the shell too?" The boss's wife asked doubtfully, even as she reached out, picked up half, and put it into her mouth. "Oh my God, this is so fragrant." Before she even finished one side, she ate the other half too. Then she suddenly thought of something and immediately hugged the rest to her chest. When the others wanted more, she wasn't happy about it. "You already got to taste it for free just now. If you want more, you'll have to pay." The others regretted not taking more earlier. But since they were doing business, charging money was only natural. "How much is it?" "Give me two." The boss's wife rolled her eyes, calculating how to price it. As for me, I knew this dish had already conquered both the boss and the customers. The deal was done. "So, boss, what do you think? This stuff isn't easy to catch. So how about 2 mao per gene? Mountain crabs really are harder to catch than mountain snails. Last night when I was catching them, my hands got pinched so badly they still hurt. This thing is rarely seen on the market, so there's basically no comparable price. But a lot of people still aren't interested in crabs. There's not much meat on them, so the price won't be too high. I could only quote a tentative price first." The boss was a businessman and knew how to do the math to make a profit. If these were sold by the piece, selling 5 for 1 mao would make a killing. Even selling 10 for 1 mao would still be profitable. He agreed immediately. "Fine, 2 mao it is. Tomorrow you have to bring me this much again." I smiled. "No problem." The wild mountain snails sold for 8 kwai, and the mountain crabs were only 36 jin, earning 7 kwai too. Today I made a total of 15 kwai too, enough to equal half a month's wages for an ordinary worker. This was the first bucket of gold I earned after coming here. After getting the money, I didn't hurry back. I pulled my cart around the market instead. I bought 30 jin of rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and a few jin of pork and bones. Hanshia had been malnourished for a long time after giving birth and had grown much thinner, so she needed nourishment. I also bought some daily necessities, along with milk powder and candy for the 2 little ones. It all came to 8 kwai 8, leaving 6 kwai 4. Thinking that my family would no longer have to go hungry every day, I pulled the cart and hurried home. It was almost evening by the time I reached the village. As I neared home, I could see from afar several people gathered outside the yard, along with the sound of furious cursing. When I got closer, I saw it was Annie 18 and her husband, Wang Defa's parents. Wang Defa was a core member of my eating and drinking gang. He was the one who egged me on to steal Chen Dakaway's coffin. Wang's father was smoking a dry tobacco pipe nearby, while Auntie 18 stood at the gate with her hands on her hips, cursing at Chen Dakaway and his wife and Han Shuya in the yard. Everyone, Open your eyes and see clearly. Chen An owes money and won't repay it. This is the family. A bunch of shameless deadbeats who hauled 3 bags of fertilizer away from my house. Absolutely disgraceful. In the countryside, having someone come to your home and point at your nose while cursing you out was deeply humiliating, not to mention being cursed at this viciously. My mother, Liang Xiaofan, said, "Annie 18, didn't we clearly agree to settle this after the autumn harvest? There are still 4 months until then. How can you go back on your word?" Huh? Li Guolian burst out laughing. Who's going back on their word? Who agreed with you to settle after the autumn harvest? It was your Chen An who said he'd pay after 1 month. What? Trying to welsh on the debt now? I saw it long ago. Chen An is lazy, greedy, and good for nothing, loafing around all day eating, drinking, whoring, and gambling. You've got money for having fun, but when it comes to paying back what you owe us, suddenly there's none? Then again, with a son like that in the family, I'm afraid I wouldn't get my money back even by next autumn harvest. If it really comes to that, doesn't your family still have land? Chen An couldn't help but speak up. Give me another half month, and I'll definitely pay you back, 1 kwai 5 in total, including interest. At that time, 1 bag of fertilizer cost 4 jiao 5 fun, so 3 bags came to 1 kwai 3 jiao 5. And 1 jiao 5 in interest for 45 days was already very high. They'd already agreed to pay such high interest, and half a month was neither especially long nor especially short. Surely the debt collectors ought to show some restraint, right? But Li Guolian refused. Humph, easy for you to say. There's no money now, so your family will have money in half a month? As for that little bastard Chen An, if he has a penny, he'll spend a penny. Can he rest easy without squandering it all? And let me tell you, today it's either money or land. We can't wait even 1 day. Chen An didn't know what to say. It was obvious they were deliberately making things difficult for you. All the family's money was squandered by me. We really can't come up with a single cent knowing he was in the wrong. He stopped talking, hoping maybe Li Guolian would leave after she got tired of cursing. But her voice was very loud, and she looked terrifying. My 2 twin daughters hid behind their mother, crying loudly in fright. Liang Xiaofan felt sorry for the children and reminded her, "Aunt 18, can you keep your voice down a little? Don't scare the children." Li Guolian was displeased. "What do you mean? Are you saying I look ugly? Saying I'm scaring the children?" She pointed at Han Shuya and cursed. "This little wife is so fair and delicate. She's not a match for your Chen An at all. If you ask me, Chen An has gotten used to fooling around, and he's probably already ruined his health, right? These 2 kids might not even be from your Chen family. Yet you sure do care a lot." Liang Xiaofan looked stern. "Aunt 18, how can you talk like that?" Li Guolian folded her arms and said in a mocking tone, "Humph, whether it's true or not, you don't know either." Liang Xiaofan was so angry her face turned red, and Chen An hated it so much his teeth itched. But my beast of a son is also to blame for being such a disappointment, giving people something to talk about, and now he even owes them money, leaving us very much in the wrong. Han Shuya was so angry that the veins on her forehead bulged, her eyes filled with tears. She knew what kind of person Li Guolian was. If she responded, she'd be falling right into her trap, and Li Guolian would only say even nastier things. So she could only endure it. Li Guolian seemed as if she had won, and continued, "Stop thinking about it. Losing a small piece of land won't starve you to death, and it'll even make your work easier." Just as she finished speaking, a hand suddenly slapped her on the shoulder. The sudden slap gave Li Guolian a fright. She turned around and saw it was me. "You little bastard, you scared me half to death." Li Guolian cursed angrily. I kept smiling. "Aunt 18, why are you so angry?" "Mom, how did our family offend her?" Liang Xiaofan sighed. "A month ago, your dad bought 3 bags of fertilizer from her on credit, and we agreed to pay after the harvest. But today she insists on being paid back. Where are we supposed to get the money?" As she spoke, she started wiping away tears. I still smiled at Li Guolian. "So that's what this is about. Dad, doesn't our family have money? Hurry up and pay Aunt 18 back." Chen An flew into a rage. "You've got the nerve to tell me to repay the money? You're really my father, aren't you? You know better than anyone whether our family has money." Back then, after he carried the 3 bags of fertilizer home, he planned to spread them on the crops in a couple of days. But the next day, he found the fertilizer gone. It had been hauled off by Wang Defa and a few hooligans I called over, traded for money to buy liquor and drink. To get money for eating, drinking, and making merry, I turned the house upside down. I even cut up Chen An's underwear, thinking there was money hidden inside. I said, "There is. I remember there was money in your underwear, wasn't there? I'll go get it out." With that, I walked into the room and soon came out again, already holding money in my hand. I walked up to Li Guolian and opened my hand, revealing bills and coins. A total of 1 yuan 5 jiao. The extra counts as thanks for Aunt 18's care for my family. How could Li Guolian have imagined that the Chen family could actually come up with money to repay her? The reason she made a scene at this time was because she knew the Chen family was at the end of its rope, and she could use the land to settle the debt. She hadn't expected me to ruin her plan. But since they had paid back the money, and even included interest, there was really nothing she could say. Li Guolian had no choice but to take the money and count it, then turn to leave with her husband. Then she saw so many things piled on my cart and walked straight over to take one. Li Guolian was a notorious rat in the village. Whenever she went to someone's house, whenever she sees fresh vegetables or anything valuable or useful, she'll casually take it. Everyone buys fertilizer from her family on credit, so even if they know about it, it's hard to say much. I'm not going to indulge her. Auntie 18, that's rat poison. You really shouldn't take it. The moment Li Guolian heard it was poisonous, she got so scared that she immediately tossed it back onto the cart. You little bastard. Buying rat poison and not putting it away properly. Are you trying to get me killed? She left cursing under her breath, and the other villagers quickly dispersed as well. Chen Dakue, Liang Xiufen, and Han Shuya were all a bit surprised to see that I could actually come up with money from home. Could this family really have hidden private savings? Actually, this money came from the 6.4 I had left from today. Putting on this act was simply because I didn't want Li Guolian and the others to know my way of making money. Paying the interest was purely to shut Li Guolian up. If she kept flapping her gums, who knows how nasty her words would get. But just wait. Now that she's taken this money, retribution will come to her. Once everyone had left, Liang Xiufen immediately came over and asked, Dun, where did you get this money? Mom, I earned it in the county today. Chen Dakue came over with a stern face and kicked me in the backside right away, cursing angrily. Tell the truth. Whose stuff did you steal this time? I'd rather sell my blood than owe them money. Liang Xiufen spoke up for her son. Can't you ever think well of your son for once? Chen Dakue, I'd like to, but has this beast ever done any good? I didn't explain much. Even if I told them the whole process exactly as it happened, father still wouldn't believe it. If I wanted to earn my family's trust, I'd have to work harder. I turned and went out to pull the handcart back, then closed the gate. Under my family's astonished gazes, I took down the things I bought today one by one and laid them on the ground. Seeing these supplies, Liang Xiufen and Han Shuya were completely dumbfounded. Chen Dakue also couldn't help taking another look, but thinking that I had bought them with money stolen from others, there was nothing to be proud of, so he clasped his hands behind his back and went outside to smoke. Mom, take these things inside, I said. Then I pulled Han Shuya into the room and quietly took a pack of Whisper out of my shirt. Sanitary pads were only introduced in 1982, and it wasn't until after the 90s that they were gradually accepted by people in the country. But because of Han Shuya's background, she had used this kind of thing back in her hometown. Sanitary pads were far more comfortable than the menstrual cloth women used in the old days. It's just too expensive. A pack of these sells for 7 dimes, which counts as a high-end luxury item in rural areas where incomes are generally very low, and they can't even be reused. So this was simply not popular in the countryside at all. After Han Shuya came here, she gradually got used to using menstrual cloth too, but if she had the option of using sanitary pads, she would definitely choose the latter. She never expected that Chen An, a grown man, would actually buy this. This is for you. Chen An stuffed the Whisper into Han Shuya's arms, though the two were husband and wife. After Chen An went bad, he had hardly touched Han Shuya anymore. So to her, the two of them were merely the most familiar strangers. Chen An suddenly giving her something so intimate made her face flush red in an instant. Taking it felt awkward, and not taking it felt awkward too. Chen An grabbed her hand and said gently, Take it, this is for you. It should be about time these next 2 days, right? This works well. Han Shuya had a different constitution. When that time came, she already felt very uncomfortable, and then using something as rough as menstrual cloth made her mood terrible for those few days, leaving her groggy and listless. And in winter, she even had to touch cold water, which was simply torture. Only people who've experienced it themselves would know what that feels like. But if this money really came from a shady source, Han Shuya didn't want these things either. Tell me honestly, where did this money come from? She asked, summoning her courage. Then I'll tell you, but you can't tell anyone else. Chen An said, Last night, I went to the river to feel for snails and catch mountain crabs. Chen An told the whole story exactly as it happened. These days, there aren't many people who know how to do business, and there are even fewer in the countryside. But if Li Guolian's family finds out this method can make money, They'll definitely snatch the business away. Han Shia listened with a face full of shock. Chen An had actually made so much money from those wild catches in the river. But thinking of how Chen An really had cooked a huge pot of crab porridge that morning, it was obvious he wasn't lying. Even if he made a lot of money, he still shouldn't give so much to that Ligualian. Han Shia complained. Wouldn't it be better to give it to Dad and Mom? Our parents suffered so much over this 15 cents. It's fine. Once she takes this money, she won't get to spend it anyway. Chen An laughed. They had clearly agreed to repay it after the autumn harvest. Yet she came to collect the debt at a time like this, obviously trying to swallow up a piece of the family's land. What was even more outrageous was that she called Han Shuya an unfaithful woman. In fact, Chen An later figured it out too. Wang Defa and Li Guolian were the ones who started the rumors about Han Shuya being loose. I called Wang Defa my brother every day, yet behind my back he indirectly caused Han Shuya's death and ruined my whole family. It would have been one thing if Li Guolian hadn't tried to stop it, but she even spread the rumors everywhere. Chen An could never let this grudge go. The Wang family's good days were almost over. Han Shia finally accepted the whisper. After blushing, tears suddenly streamed down her face. Because Chen An hadn't just bought it for her, he had even kept track of her cycle. In those days, if a man could do that, a woman was already very fortunate. But to Chen An, it was nothing. He wiped away Han Shia's tears. You're crying just because I bought you this? If I buy you pretty clothes and fancy handbags later, won't you be over the moon? Han Shia didn't even dare to dream about pretty clothes and bags. At that time, the countryside was still relatively backward, unlike the city. Everyone's clothes had patches on them, and just getting a piece of new fabric was enough to make someone happy for a whole year. But Chen An's sudden gentleness really left her unable to handle it. As she wiped her tears, moved, she said, I don't want anything, as long as you live honestly and steadily. A woman who truly wants to build a life together doesn't ask for great wealth or high status. As long as the man is steady and dependable, no amount of hardship is too much. That former hoodlum and brute had suddenly turned into a thoughtful, warm man overnight, making Han Shuya feel as if it wasn't real. Baba, Mama. Just then, Huan Huan and Xiao Xiao, who had not seen their mother for a long while outside, crawled into the room. The two little chubby bundles were only a little over 1 year old and still couldn't talk, but each of them hugged their father and mother's legs and started asking to be held. Chen An smiled, bent down and picked up the two little ones. Ha ha, Daddy didn't forget about you two. Look what Daddy bought for you. Then Chen An pulled out two little hand drums from the bag he carried with him. It was the first time the two little ones had seen something so new, and they immediately started playing with them on their own. When they shook them and heard the thumping sounds, they both burst into laughter. Seeing that the baby's happiness came from their father, Han Shuya smiled happily as well. The courtyard, which had been gloomy for so long, was finally no longer lifeless. Hearing the laughter, Liang Xiufen, busy making dinner in the kitchen, glanced outside, and a smile spread across her face as well. Outside the courtyard gate, Chen Dakue, smoking, listened carefully, and his mood lifted quite a bit too. He had wanted to smile as well, but when he thought that the money had come from Chen An's dirty dealings, he immediately put on a stern face again. A dog can never stop eating shit. After dinner, Chen An had Han Shia prepare a few liang of stir-fried pig offal, then wrapped it in lotus leaves. Who are you taking it to? After accepting Chen An's whisper, Han Shia seemed to have grown bolder and asked, Tonight I need to bring along one more person to help pick more river snails and crabs, and tomorrow, after we make money, I'll buy you a nice set of underwear. Han Shia blushed, then said, Then you don't need to ask anyone. I'll go with you. Chen An shook his head. The river water is too icy at night. You should touch cold water less from now on. I can go by myself. Also, don't do any sewing work anymore. I'll handle making money, and the child needs you to take care of them too. Being cared for like this by Chen An, Han Shuya's nose turned sour again. Before, he couldn't wait for her to do more sewing work to make money. And now he's starting to dote on his wife. I'm leaving. Chen An went out carrying two large bamboo baskets. He took the freshly stir-fried fatty pork to find Dachuan. Dachuan was about the same age as Chen An, a very tall fellow. If you say he's stupid, ask him whether he uses his left hand or right hand to wipe after using the toilet, and he knows to say he uses a stick. But if you say he's smart. When Chen An and Wang Defa egged him on to steal Widow Zhang's underwear from the east end of the village, he thought he could completely hide behind a single leaf. The reason Chen An chose Dachuan was because he listened to Chen An the most. Passing a small grove behind Dachuan's house, Chen An saw flashlight beams in the woods and couldn't help taking another look. That person was Dachuan. Chen An walked over with the meat and shouted, "Dachuan, what are you doing?" Dachuan said, "Poking a hornet's nest." Chen An shone his flashlight over and was so startled he shivered. Outside the eaves of that abandoned mud house hung a hornet's nest as big as a bucket. "You idiot, aren't you afraid of dying? Those stings can kill people." Wang Defa said it wouldn't. Chen An cursed inwardly. "I'm no good, but Wang Defa is truly a bastard." No need to doubt it. Wang Defa definitely egged Dachuan on to do this. Poor Dachuan, stupidly unaware of the danger, daring to poke a hornet's nest without any protection at all. Chen An opened the lotus leaf, and a burst of meaty aroma drifted out. "Dachuan, stop fussing with that, and come have some meat." As soon as Dachuan smelled the aroma, he immediately threw away the wooden stick and ran over. Without a word, he grabbed the meat from the lotus leaf with his hand and stuffed it into his mouth. With his mouth full of grease, he asked, "Done? Where did you get money to buy meat?" "I can tell you, but you have to keep it secret and absolutely not tell anyone, or I won't play with you anymore in the future." Dachuan nodded. "I won't even tell my mom." "Very good, come with me." Chen An gave all the remaining meat to Dachuan and led him toward the stream outside the village. On the way, Chen An said, "Dachuan, don't hang around with Wang Defa anymore." "Why?" Dachuan's mouth was full of grease. "Even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. Anyway, just stay away from him." "What about that hornet's nest? If he wants to play with it, let him do it himself. Defa said these hornets were for you, and he told me not to tell you no matter what, to give you a surprise. You mustn't tell anyone either." "What?" Hearing this, Chen An finally solved the doubt he had carried for many years. In his previous life, before Han Shi had jumped into the river, Chen An had actually been stung a few times by several hornets hidden in his clothes. Just recalling it made Chen An's back ache faintly. Thinking about it now, he really was lucky. After being stung several times by hornets, he still narrowly escaped death. But because of those stings, for a period of time his head was muddled and he couldn't think straight. When rumors were spread about Han Shi, he was unable to deal with it, and he even started to doubt her himself, which led to the tragedy. Later, Chen An had also wondered. The clothes had only been hung outside to dry for half a day, so how did hornets get inside them? And several at once. Now hearing Dachuan say this, Chen An felt this was definitely no coincidence, and it was even less likely that Dachuan would tell a lie like this. Chen An patted Dachuan on the shoulder. "Don't worry, I definitely won't tell anyone. And don't let Wang Defa know that you told me about this either." "Told you about what?" "Nothing." When they arrived by the creek, Chen An began teaching Dachuan how to pick mountain snails. "Take all the ones bigger than a pinky finger. And mountain crabs too. Take all the ones bigger than a thumb." "I know how to do that." Dachuan had eaten meat and was stuffed, and he really listened to Chen An, starting to pick mountain snails and mountain crabs. Chen An checked and found that Dachuan had indeed strictly followed his standards, which reassured him. Dachuan worked very hard because he was hoping Chen An would give him meat again. He was much faster than Chen An. Before long, Dachuan had filled a whole basket. Chen An handed the not yet full basket to Dachuan and carried the full one home himself to dump into the water vat. After dinner, Chen Dakue, out for a walk to aid digestion, saw Chen An carrying back a basket of something. After Chen An left, he went over to take a look, only to find the bottom of the vat full of mountain snails. He picked up so many. Can he even finish eating them? Don't let them die on you. Chen Dakue mocked, never having imagined these things could make money. Liang Xiaofan, who was picking soybeans nearby, said, "What the hell do you know? Chen An is making big money with this." Chen Dakue laughed. "With this, he can make money? The sun must be rising in the west." Liang Xiaofan said, "Even if he can't make money, at least he has something to do. That's better than him going out and fooling around, isn't it?" Chen Dakue, "Maybe he's catching these just so he can go out and fool around." Liang Xiaofan, after carrying one basket back, Chen An returned to the creek, and Dachuan had already filled the other basket again. So Chen An carried it back and dumped it into the vat too. Going back and forth like that, with Dachuan's help, Chen An collected 220 gene of mountain snails and 196 gene of mountain crabs that night. Looking at the haul, Chen An was thoroughly satisfied. It was already close to midnight, but he still washed the pot and rinsed the rice, then cooked a pot of crab congee to reward Dachuan and himself. "Dachuan, get up a bit earlier tomorrow and come with me to the county," Chen An said. These two kinds of wild catch add up to more than 400 gene, and Chen An couldn't haul that much by himself. Dachuan was big and strong, so with him around there was nothing to worry about. Should we call Wang Defa and the others? Dachuan was simple-minded and quickly forgot what Chen An had told him. Chen An put down his bowl and said seriously, "Has Wang Defa ever given you meat to eat?" Dachuan shook his head. What about me? Dachuan nodded. Then who do you listen to? You. Then that's settled. Go back and sleep right away tonight. I'll come get you tomorrow, and don't bother with Wang Defa and the others anymore. Oh. The two continued drinking kanji. Dachuan might be a bit slow, but he was a filial child. He drank half the pot all by himself, then saved 2 bowls, saying he wanted to take them back for his parents to try. Chen An filled the bowls for him to take back, and also saved 1 bowl for Han Shuya. Chen An guessed it wasn't yet 12 o'clock, and carrying the kanji, he came to the door and called softly. Shuya, are you asleep? Han Shuya had already woken up when Chen An came back earlier, looked toward the door once, and then went back to her room. She hadn't expected Chen An to come looking for her on his own. After hesitating a bit, she still responded, I just fed the baby's formula. What is it? Open the door a little. The door opened a crack. Han Shuya was worried that Chen An might come in to do that at this hour, and she still couldn't accept it for the moment. Then she saw that Chen An was holding a bowl of kanji. This is for you. Drink it quickly so I can wash the bowl. Chen An said. Han Shuya still wasn't used to Chen An suddenly turning into such a warm, considerate man, and didn't know how to respond in a way that would do his kindness justice. She took the kanji in a daze and started drinking. It was neither too hot nor too cold, and she finished it quickly. She had even prepared herself for Chen An to come in and sleep. But unexpectedly, Chen An took back the bowl and said, Go to sleep now. You don't need to get up so early tomorrow. After saying that, he went out. After taking a bath, Chen An returned to his own little room to rest. This little room was in the courtyard. It was a separate room, previously for Grandpa to live in by himself, and after Grandpa passed away it was left empty. Later, when Chen An smoked, drank, and beat his wife, his parents drove him out to live there. The next day, Han Shuya still got up early and helped Chen An as an assistant, cooking porridge together. Then she helped Chen An pack the mountain snails and mountain crabs in the water vat separately into burlap sacks and bamboo baskets, and carry them onto the handcart. Han Shuya also stuffed a flatbread in a water bottle to Chen An. With De Chun helping, the two quickly arrived at Yesan County. Before they even reached Hao Zilai food stall, someone immediately stopped Chen An. Comrade, are you delivering wild game to Hao Zilai food stall? The man asked. Yes, what is it? Chen An, sitting on the handcart, asked. My name is Yu Quan, from Jun Haoyun Restaurant, and I want to purchase some goods from you. Chen An knew Jun Haoyun Restaurant. Last time, after selling his dad's coffin for money, Chen An had treated Wang Defa and the others at this place. Its scale of operation was much bigger than Hao Zilai food stall, and it served both lunch and dinner, and even ran a late-night food stall. Chen An did not agree right away. He knew that if it was only about purchasing goods, a restaurant this big could buy from anyone. So what Yu Quan had his eye on was definitely his skill at frying crabs. This thing may look simple. One look and you think you can do it, but once you try, it's ruined. Heat control, oil temperature, how to drain the oil after taking them out, and how to preserve the fresh flavor and crisp texture. All of these require great care. Yu Quan and the others had surely tried it themselves, but it just wasn't as fragrant as what he fried. People in this era were already satisfied just to have food to eat, and for the time being they didn't have high demands regarding texture, saltiness, and the like. So as long as you could toss a wok, you were considered a chef. One could imagine the level of skill. Mountain crabs are all shell, and there are lots of them because they're cheap. To fry them well and sell them big, it really does take a certain level of skill. Yu Quan knew that rather than wasting manpower and resources experimenting, it would be better to have him come over and teach them. Saying he wanted to purchase goods from him was really just a way of getting him to provide the technique for free. Thinking of this, Chen An said, Sure, how much do you want? I'll take it all. That won't do. I already made an agreement with Hao Zilai, and I'm still delivering to him today. For these goods, you can take at most 30 jin of each. Chen An had his own considerations too. Besides Hao Zilai and Jun Haoyun, there were several other restaurants or food stalls in Yesan County. Today Chen An wanted to win them all over and become their supply channel. Yu Quan showed a troubled expression, as if he were very reluctant. That works too. Oh right, to open up a market for these crabs, you'll have to teach us the method. Chen An smiled. Sure enough, this was what it was really about. Fine, but I won't teach this technique for free. $30, and I'll teach you until you learn it. If you think that's okay, in a while I'll haul the goods over. And if you're unwilling, even if you buy these mountain crabs, you still won't be able to cook them well. Don't let them go to waste in your hands. Yu Quan was stunned for a moment, then gave an awkward smile. He had originally wanted to trick the technique out of him, but he hadn't expected this kid to be so shrewd. Didn't you teach Hao Zilai for free yesterday? We're all doing business. If I went to your restaurant and ate for free, would you be willing? Hee, that's true. Yuquan smiled and continued. But 30 is too expensive. That's exactly the point. You think it's expensive. That proves you still want it. Chen An pretended to be troubled, thought for a moment, and said, how about this? I can teach it to you at half price, but from now on you'll have to purchase goods from me long-term. 15 yuan. For getting such a good secret recipe, that wasn't much, and Jun Haoyun could afford it. Moreover, Jun Haoyun was preparing to expand into the surrounding towns and villages, and by then the demand for these wild goods would also increase, so they really did need a long-term stable supplier. Otherwise, relying only on the scattered bits of goods brought by villagers who came into the city only on market days. First, the quantity was small and the quality varied greatly. Second, the wait was too long, and it wasn't stable. After Yuquan thought it over very carefully for more than 10 minutes, he slapped his thigh and said, deal. But we need to make the supply terms clear first. Right now it's 2 mao per gene, and if market prices go up later, you still have to supply me at 2 mao per gene. We have to work together for at least a year. People did business honestly in those days, and many agreements were made verbally, and it was rare for anyone to cheat or swindle. 1 year. Chen An knew that the domestic economy was taking off at the time, and the purchasing power of money would also change, slowly adjusting itself to the market. But it wouldn't be too bad. Not to mention that mountain crabs and mountain snails were basically picked up for free, so Chen An wasn't worried about losing money. Chen An said, sure, it's settled then. I'll deliver the goods to Heozeli first, then come back. I'll head over to your place in a bit. Yuquan said, it's not far. I'll go too. Actually, he was afraid something unexpected might happen. If Chen An ran into someone from another restaurant on the way and they snatched the deal away, wouldn't he be the one at a loss? The three of them quickly arrived at Heozeli. The boss and the boss's wife had learned their lesson. The fried crabs sold well yesterday, so this morning they started frying the remaining crabs too. And today just happened to be market day, and now nearly 10 people were already gathered around the wok, practically drooling. Seeing how well they were selling, Yuquan became even more confident. When Heozeli's owner, Zhang Lai, saw Chen An delivering goods, he immediately ran over and busied himself, saying, how much did you bring today? I want 100 jin. The mountain snails and crabs were all freshly caught, and they could even be kept alive at home for a few days. Buy more. If business is good that day, you can immediately use the extra stock you prepared. 50 jin of each, making 20 yuan. After delivering the goods to Heozeli, he hurried on to Jun Haoyun. He ordered another 30 jin of each. Then Chen An taught Jun Haoyun's head chef on the spot how to deep fry them, how to control the temperature, how to control the oil, how the crabs should be put into the wok, and so on. The method sounded simple, but if the chef wanted to achieve skills like Chen An's, he'd still need another 2 years of practice. Fortunately, the chef already had a culinary foundation. So after hearing it a few times and watching how Chen An did it, he understood and learned about 80% of the technique. Chen An said to Yuquan, to avoid ending up with the same flavor as Heozeli, you have the conditions here, so I'll teach you another trick. You can add some scallion heads to the oil, and the aroma will definitely be just right. As soon as Yuquan heard this, he immediately had the chef add scallions. Following the method Chen An described, the scallions were removed after being in the hot oil for a while, leaving the oil infused with scallion fragrance, and when the crabs were put in, they also absorbed that aroma. The taste was indeed first-rate. After learning how to do it, Yuquan was also in great spirits and said to Chen An, Brother Chen An, our Jun Haoyun is preparing to open a branch, and when that time comes, the quantity of goods we need will definitely increase. Also, our menu here is rather limited. If you think of any new dishes, you can come find us. We'll provide all kinds of ingredients for you to make them, and buy your secret recipes. Then we'll make a fortune together. Chen An, no problem. After unloading 60 jin of goods for Jun Haoyun, Chen An collected 27 yuan and then headed to the next restaurant. With Jun Haoyun taking the lead, the other restaurants felt they couldn't miss this opportunity. And with Chen An putting his silver tongue to work, combined with some win-win tactics from the 21st century, he quickly sold the secret recipe again. But this time, what Chen An taught them to add was no longer scallions, but cilantro. By the time he got to the next few restaurants, what Chen An had them add was perilla, or wild beetle leaf, or pepper powder, or Sichuan peppercorn powder, and so on. Then he mixed them in pairs, basically making each one distinct. Every secret recipe he taught each restaurant was different, while also avoiding the awkwardness of them tasting each other's food and later complaining that Chen An had sold the same recipe to multiple parties. Some places had even heard that other restaurants were already working with Chen An, and took the initiative to come over and ask to cooperate. After all, they had also seen how popular the fried mountain crabs were. The first one to seize the opportunity, Heozeli, had already made quite a lot in just this one day. There were many restaurants and food stalls in the whole county town, and Chen An and Dachuan had partnered with more than 20 of them. By the afternoon, Chen An had already earned 430 yuan from selling wild goods and selling the secret recipes. This was more than what an ordinary worker could earn in a hard year. With capital, and with sales channels, Chen An would have no worries about income from now on. Dachuan also deserved credit for this. Chen An counted out 15 yuan and handed it to Dachuan. Do you know how much this is? Dachuan actually wasn't stupid. Sometimes he was quite shrewd. After taking the money, he started counting it. As he counted, he even knew to first count how many 1-cent bills there were, how many 2-cent bills there were. Before long, Dachuan had finished counting, a full 15. Seeing that he could count money, Chen An felt reassured and handed the 15 yuan over to Dachuan. You earned this money by doing this work with me, and there'll be more in the future. Do you like it? As soon as Dachuan heard that, his eyes instantly lit up. Like it? Of course I like it. This much? My God, this can buy a whole lot of firecrackers. There might not be enough cow dung in our village to blow up. Chen An. He took back the trust he had just placed in Dachuan, snatched the money back in one motion, and said, when we get back, I'll give this money to your mother and have her save it for you, so you can marry a wife from the city in the future. It was still early, but Chen An had to hurry back. Tomorrow he had to meet the supply needs of 23 establishments, providing at least 30 jin of 2 kinds of goods to each one, which came to 1,400 jin. This was no small amount. The volume was huge. From gathering wild goods to transporting them to the various restaurants in the county, Chen An couldn't handle it by himself. After returning to the village, Chen An had Dachuan go call over the little buddies he used to play with a lot. In the village, people like Dachuan often got along better with children around 10 years old. When Chen An and the others went to the county town to fool around, they wouldn't bring Dachuan along. So Dachuan could only play with these village kids. Very quickly, Dachuan called over 5 children, some of whom had finished elementary school and some of whom hadn't. Stand properly. Dachuan shouted at them. Listen to Chen An talk to you. Because Dachuan had said he was going to take them to make money, they all stood there obediently. Chen An first handed out 1 jiao to each of them, then said, if you want to make money, help me collect mountain snails and mountain crabs. Just these 2 kinds. Remember that. Once these children got the money, every one of them had their eyes shining. Nothing moved people more than money. They hadn't expected that what Dachuan said about making big money was true. Then hearing Chen An say this, several children ran over to take a look. Aren't these found in the nearby streams? Yeah, there are lots of them. There are plenty in the fields too. Seeing that they all remembered it was these 2 things, Chen An continued. When you go collect them, the smallest you can pick can only be this small. Don't pick any smaller than that. If you bring them back, I won't pay for them either. Understand? Understood. When it came to money, the kids were still very serious. While collecting, you mustn't fight over them with each other, and you mustn't fight. Chen An said, more importantly, pay attention to safety. If I find out anyone has gone to deep pools or the riverside to collect them, then don't do this anymore in the future. The 1 jiao he gave them was to prepare for saying these things afterward. Got it. The 5 answered together. All right, hurry along. Remember to come back before dark and exchange them for money with me here. Having received their orders, the few of them immediately dashed toward the stream like wild horses freed from their reins. After arranging all this, Chen An pulled the goods he had helped Dachuan buy in the county town on a handcart to Dachuan's home. As he passed the small grove behind Dachuan's house, Chen An couldn't help stopping and looking over at that hornet's nest. What for? Dachuan asked. Go over and take a look, Chen An said. Then he walked into the small grove and soon arrived at that hornet's nest. Chen An wanted to knock down the nest, lest Dachuan do something foolish again. But thinking that he didn't have any protective gear right now, he only took a look and then went back out. When he returned to the roadside, as luck would have it, Auntie 18 Liguilian was just passing by, sneaking around by the handcart. Then she reached out and grabbed something from the handcart, catching a bag of flour, and was about to leave with it. Auntie 18, what are you doing? Chen An and Dachuan walked out of the grove. Liguilian was startled again. Chen An, are you trying to scare me to death? Sneaking around like that. What were you 2 doing in the grove? Chen An did not answer, but stared into Liguilian's eyes. Feeling guilty like a thief, she darted her eyes a few times, then honestly put the thing back. She even explained. I saw that no one was watching this cart of things, so I figured I'd take it back and put it away safely. Chen An said, then many thanks, Auntie 18. I really was worried just now that leaving the things like this would attract rats. Hearing the word rats, Li Guolian ground her teeth, her lips twitching as she cursed under her breath. Little bastard. But aloud she still said, "It's nothing. I was just passing by." Then she left, carrying her hoe and muttering curses. When they arrived in front of Dachuan's house, they happened to see Wang Defa walking over. "Chen An, Dachuan," Wang Defa called out. Dachuan asked Chen An, "Should we pay attention to him?" Chen An said, "Just don't tell him we went to make money." Dachuan, "Oh." As he walked, Wang Defa asked, "What have you two been up to? I've been looking for you all day. Come on, let's go drink at the restaurant outside the village. There used to be a mining area here, so outside the village." At the intersection of the road leading into the factory, someone opened a restaurant. The factory has been moved away for 3 years now, but from time to time nearby villagers still come here to eat. So it's barely getting by. Chen An and the others often came here to gather and drink and eat meat. But most of the time, Chen An was the one who paid. Today Wang Defa had already gathered 2 good buddies there to eat and drink all afternoon, and then suddenly thought that Chen An hadn't come. So he was just in time to find him and have him pay the bill. Yesterday Wang Defa had heard his parents say that Chen An seemed to have made a little money and even bought some things. On top of that, he hadn't been seen all day today, and even Dachuan had disappeared too. This made Wang Defa even more convinced that Chen An was up to something behind his back. This bastard is really not decent. He found a job and started making money, and now he won't hang out with me anymore? Now that he saw the things loaded on the handcart Chen An was pulling, Wang Defa was even more convinced that Chen An had struck it rich. "What is all this stuff?" Wang Defa asked, though he already knew the answer. "Who bought it?" There was even a tone of interrogation in his voice. "Dachuan bought it," Chen An said nonchalantly. "The day before yesterday my dad smacked me on the head, so I had no choice but to go to the hospital to get it checked out. And by chance I made a little money helping an old man in the hospital empty his chamber pot. If he couldn't get it out, I even had to dig it out with my hand. I thought this was a business opportunity, so today I brought Dachuan along too. And honestly, this money is pretty easy to make. Wang Defa, how about you come with me tomorrow too, along with Dalong and Abayo? Dachuan, take the things home. I'll go have a chat with Wang Defa." As he spoke, Chen An walked over and draped an arm over Wang Defa's shoulder. Who was Wang Defa? His family wasn't struggling at all. His old man had made quite a bit of money by dealing fertilizer, so he wasn't someone short of money. As soon as he heard Chen An say he had been helping people empty chamber pots at the hospital, Wang Defa instinctively covered his nose. Now Chen An even reached out and touched him directly, scaring Wang Defa into dodging aside with a quick step. "Oh, fuck you, Chen An. You get covered in shit and call that making money?" Wang Defa laughed and cursed. After walking around all day, Chen An was reeking of sweat. On top of that, he was tainted with the fishy smell of mountain snails and mountain crabs. Baked by this scorching weather, the stench was really something. Wang Defa believed it and just felt disgusted. Sigh, can't be helped. The 2 kids need proper nutrition. Chen An looked full of bitterness. And my wife has started complaining too. If I still don't get my act together, she'll run off with someone else. Ever since the baby finished the confinement month, she hasn't let me touch her. I'm worried sick now. As he said this, Chen An discreetly watched Wang Defa's expression. Sure enough, when he heard that Han Shuya was wavering, the look on Wang Defa's face immediately brightened. But he still said, "If it really doesn't work out, I'll help you out a bit, buddy. From now on, you can go to the county and empty shit buckets in peace. If Shuya and the kids need anything, I'll help look after them." In Wang Defa's eyes, Chen An was still that same easy-to-fool Chen An, not much better than Dachuan. Little did he know, Chen An was fishing for information from him. Clearly, Wang Defa had Dachuan prepare hornets for him so that Han Shuya would be widowed, letting him take advantage of the situation. Since that's how it is, then don't blame me, Chen An, for not playing fair. Then many thanks, Brother Fa. Chen An put on a touched expression and said, "Once I make some money, I'll definitely cook for you myself. No joke, I'm really good at it." Wang Defa's face twitched. "We're brothers, family doesn't stand on ceremony. You don't need to cook personally, so you're not coming with me to make big money. Get lost. I'd rather beg than go empty shit buckets." "I see. I was thinking that if you all went, I could head out earlier tomorrow. But now it looks like I'll have to leave a bit later." The moment Wang Defa heard that, he realized that if Chen An didn't leave early, wouldn't that mean he had no chance to get close to Han Shuya? So he said, "If you don't head out early, what about the kids' nutrition money? What are you going to do?" Chen An said, "Here's the thing. The old man whose shit buckets I empty raises soft-shelled turtles, and those things like eating mountain snails and mountain crabs. I was thinking our village has so many of them, so I could gather some for him and earn extra money. But tomorrow he needs 750 kilograms. Dachuan and I can't handle it by ourselves, so forget it. Tomorrow I'd better go a bit later and have Han Shia help gather them for a day first. When Wang Defa heard this, his eyes shifted, and he immediately said, "That's easy. I'll call Dalong and Abayo right away, and we'll help you gather them. So it won't affect your going to empty shit buckets tomorrow." Wang Defa was actually pretty smart. In the past, he could always trick Chen An into picking up the tab, but compared with Chen An, who possessed memories of the next several decades, he was still lacking. After all, he hadn't seen as much as Chen An had. All he could think about was Chen An going to the county, Chen Dakue and his wife working in the fields, and Han Shia staying home taking care of the two kids. So he could use the excuse of helping out to get close to Han Shia. He never even thought about whether what Chen An said was true. Wang Defa had had designs on Han Shia for far more than just a day or two. He had been obsessed with her for a long time. Especially after giving birth, Han Shia's figure had become much fuller than before, making it even harder for Wang Defa to suppress his restless desire. And just now he heard Chen An say that Han Shia wanted to run away, which meant she no longer had Chen An in her heart. Wasn't this a perfect opportunity? Helping gather mountain snails in exchange for Han Shia being home alone. That was a very worthwhile deal. His mind was certainly quick, but he had no idea he had fallen into the trap Chen An set. Otherwise, relying on those few kids really wouldn't have been enough to get 750 kilograms. Of course, Chen An's goal was far more than just that. Putting on a simple, guileless look, Chen An said, "I see. Then you'll have to get 750 kilograms ready tonight. Can you manage that?" "TSK, what kind of talk is that?" "Just wait. I'll go get the two of them right away. You just wait to receive the goods. But I don't have money to pay you." Chen An added, No need. I guarantee you'll be able to set off earlier tomorrow. Also, that old man said the smallest ones are this small. Use that as the standard and pick larger ones. If there are too many small ones, then I'll have to spend a whole day slowly sorting the small ones out." The skin on Wang Defa's face twitched a few more times. He sure is damn particular. But in order to get Chen An out the door early, Wang Defa still agreed. He understood Chen An. Sometimes he was really single-minded. If you actually picked small ones, he really could foolishly spend a whole day at home sorting them. Just you wait. The moment you leave tomorrow, I'll go over and have my way with Han Shia. There sure are a lot of things to deal with. Don't worry. Then many thanks, Brother Fa. After Wang Defa finished speaking, he turned around and immediately ran off to call his two buddies. Watching his departing figure, Chen An only smiled faintly. With Wang Defa and the others helping, tomorrow's shipment should be enough. He went into the house to hand the money to Dachuan's mother, then asked her to come over tomorrow to help weave bamboo baskets. After chatting for only a little while, Chen An went home. Huan, Chow, come here and let Daddy hold you," Chen An shouted. As soon as he entered, he saw Han Shia playing with their two daughters in the yard. Children are more emotional. Sensing their father's mood, they immediately happily crawled toward him. Chen An scooped up the two little ones in one armful. "Come, let Daddy take a bite." As he spoke, he kissed each of his adorable daughters on the cheek. Han Shia gazed at this scene in a daze, actually becoming somewhat lost in thought. In the past, Chen An found his two daughters annoying whenever he saw them, but now he doted on them to death. Maybe he really has changed. After putting down the two daughters, Chen An walked over while looking into Han Shia's eyes. Feeling Chen An's burning gaze, Han Shia was still very unaccustomed to it and shyly turned her head away. "I bought you two hair ties. See if you like them?" As he spoke, Chen An took out two hair ties from his chest. This kind of thing wouldn't even be worth showing in the 21st century. But in the 1980s, especially in the countryside, if a boy gave one to a girl, it carried a very flirtatious meaning. Han Shia was slightly stunned, not expecting Chen An, who loved money more than life itself, to buy her something again today. If it were in the past, she'd be burning incense in gratitude if he didn't try every possible way to squeeze money out of her. She was still a little unaccustomed to this sudden tenderness, but inside she felt wonderful. "I like them. As long as it's from you, I like it," Han Shia said emotionally. After taking them, she raised both hands and tied up her hair with the hair ties. As a result, her fuller postpartum figure became even more prominent. Maybe she didn't mean it that way, but it really was very alluring. Chen An finally understood what it meant to be exceptionally gifted, and the sight left his mouth dry and his tongue parched. With the addition of the new hair ties, Han Shia, who already had a solid natural foundation, became even more enchanting. You watch the kids, I'll go get busy." Chen An hurriedly looked away and ran into the storage room to start looking for spare bamboo baskets. When Dachuan came over, the two of them worked together to clean out several unused water vats, and there were two more by the roadside outside, so the two of them also ran over and carried them back. 1,500 jin is an enormous amount, and the bamboo baskets and water vats at home simply weren't enough. Han Shuya wanted to help, but didn't know where to start. But Chen An didn't let her help either, telling her just to play with the children. Not long after, Wang Defa came over with Dalong and a bio. The three of them each carried a basket of mountain crabs and mountain snails. Chen An, we've picked the stuff back for you, Wang Defa shouted. Then he saw Han Shuya in the yard looking after the children. With her new hair ties, she had become even more attractive. This made Wang Defa stare blankly in a daze. He suddenly felt that although gathering wild goods just now had exhausted him half to death, it was totally worth it now. After putting the things down, he kept staring at Han Shuya until she felt uncomfortable all over. If Chen An hadn't reminded them, they would have forgotten they still had a task to finish. Han Shuya is really something. She'd definitely be way better in bed than Widow Pan. Just now I almost thought a fairy had descended to earth. She's getting prettier and prettier. That bastard Chen An beats and scolds his own wife, leaves her cold and untouched, and won't even let his brothers have a taste. Why didn't that damn bastard let Chen Dakaway crack his skull with a stick? Yeah, it would be great if Han Shuya were a widow. After leaving Chen An's house, Along and Abayo said with lewd looks all over their faces. As long as Han Shuya became a widow, she would become theirs for the taking, just like Widow Pan. A woman who's had children really is different. Widow Pan can't compare at all. Wang Defa recalled how Han Shuya had looked just now. Delicate and moving, with a rich feminine charm. Compared with Widow Pan again, she was full of sluttishness and rusticity, nowhere near as alluring as Han Shuya's refined, demure beauty. If the guys hadn't really had nowhere to vent, they wouldn't have gone looking for Widow Pan. Brother Fa, we need to act fast. As long as her reputation is ruined, it'll be much easier afterward. Exactly. If she really runs away with the children, or makes up with Chen An, we'll suffer a huge loss. The two of them were already itching with desire. If they hadn't seen her, they could still have endured it. But after seeing her just now, they couldn't control themselves at all, and kept thinking in that direction. As long as we get everything prepared today, Chen An won't be back all day tomorrow. Tomorrow you two follow my arrangements, and I guarantee we'll get her. Wang Defa said. We'll listen to Brother Fa. No, let's go to Widow Pan's house first. I can't hold it in anymore. Go, 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 damn it, you think I can hold it in? Wang Defa immediately took the other two and hurried toward Widow Pan's house. That day, all three of them imagined Zhang the widow as Han Shuya. Back at Chen An's place, those children also gradually brought the mountain goods back, and Chen An gave each of them another 1 yuan, which counted as today's wages. After all, they were children, so they weren't as fast as Wang Defa and the others. Before 10 p.m., this group had actually gathered 2,000 jin of goods. Chen Dakaway and Liang Xiufan came back in the evening. Seeing Chen An weighing things for the children in the yard, they couldn't figure out why Chen An had suddenly brought back so much stuff. But if Chen An wanted to go crazy, then let him go crazy, as long as he didn't go back to stealing and sneaking around. After 10 p.m., Chen An had Han Shuya put the two children to sleep, and at the same time called his parents up as well. And with Dachuan cooked a pot of crab congee. While drinking the congee, Chen An said, Dad, I want to renovate our house. The house was built back in the days of the People's Commune, when the villagers built them together without spending money. After finishing one family's house, they'd move on to the next. The bricks and tiles were also fired by themselves. Although it's still quite sturdy, the country changed too fast afterward, and there was never time to fix up the house. Every year when it gets windy and rainy, some places inside leak, even soaking the walls. If this goes on any longer, this house will become unsafe to live in. And Chen An felt that he couldn't keep wronging Han Shuya anymore. It was obvious that she had lived quite well before. She came all the way here to marry him, but instead of enjoying any blessings, she endured several years of beatings. After the house is fixed up, we'll find a carpenter to make some furniture and find someone who fluffs cotton to make a few new quilts. Do whatever you want, but I don't have money to help you repair it. Chen Dakaway took a puff of his strong tobacco, instinctively guarding against Chen An, yet he also didn't want to bother with whatever Chen An was doing anymore. In his view, Chen An's so-called good intentions were obviously just an excuse to ask him for money. His mother also wore a pained expression. Yesterday, when she saw Chen An come back with money, she thought he had changed. Now he was making excuses to ask for money again. He must have gambled away all his money today. She tried to persuade him. Dylan, Mom doesn't ask anything of you. As long as you behave yourself, don't cause trouble, and don't waste money anymore, Mom will be happy. The house can still. Before she could finish speaking, Chen An took out 400 yuan and slammed it onto the table. A big pile of yuan. Jiao and Fen left the three of them stunned. Before they could react, Chen An said, Dad, take this money and use it to repair the house, reset the roof tiles, and level and tamp the ground. Chen Dakue had never seen so much money in his life. He could hardly believe his eyes. He even thought Chen An was trying to fool him with leaves. But after blinking hard several times, what he still saw was money, and he was dumbfounded. This money. Chen Dakue was so excited he couldn't speak. Dylan, where did this money come from? Liang Xiaofan asked hurriedly. I earned it by teaching others how to fry crabs. It's a patent fee. What fee? Anyway, it's money earned from selling know-how, clean and legitimate. So just take it without worry. What do you mean clean and legitimate? This is speculation and profiteering. Chen Dakue slammed his pipe onto the table and shouted angrily, why you'd better turn yourself in tomorrow and strive for lenient treatment. Chen An. This was the sorrow of people at the bottom in a great era. Cut off from information and without proper channels, their minds were filled with the pain of the past. Little did they know that the outside world was undergoing earth-shaking changes. Dad, what Chen An is doing is honest business, not what you say. Han Xia helped smooth things over. She could feel that Chen An had truly changed. What are you going crazy for? Liang Xiaofan smacked Chen Dakue on the shoulder and also spoke up for her son. Isn't Dan learning to make money exactly what you wanted to see? Even a tiger, vicious as it is, doesn't eat its own cubs, and you want him to turn himself in? If you ask me, this money shouldn't be kept by you. Xia, you're more literate than we are, so you should keep this money. I don't. Xia, just take it. Although Chen Dakue was worried this was speculation and profiteering, after thinking it over carefully, Li Guolian and Wang Yong and his wife were fine too. If he had really wronged Chen An, wouldn't that make him lose heart? But this was just too much money. He had never seen this much in his life and was afraid of messing up the accounts. Han Xia was better educated, so they felt reassured letting her keep the money, but she also felt this money was too hot to handle. It was simply too much, and she was afraid she wouldn't manage it well and would not only let everyone down, but might even end up getting a brutal beating from Chen An. She hesitated and didn't dare agree. Since Mom and Dad both said so, Chen An also felt it was appropriate for Han Xia to keep the money, because she was a truly educated person, though he didn't know why she had come all the way here. But Chen An believed she could manage the money well. So he said, Xia, I'll leave this money to you to manage. Use part of it to repair the house and buy quilts, clothes, and furniture. Buy whatever you want. I won't interfere. The other part won't have another use for. Chen Dakue immediately questioned him. What's that supposed to mean? You want to take it back to the gambling table and the drinking table? Chen An shook his head and said, Dad, this money is for buying mushrooms. Everyone knew what mushrooms were, but just like mountain snails and crabs, they couldn't understand how this could make big money. Liang Xiaofan was startled. Dylan, Mom is already very happy that you can make money selling mountain snails. Don't go messing around with other things, okay? You finally managed to earn some money. Don't lose it all again. The mountain goods are selling just fine, and now he's suddenly taking money to do something else again. Chen An doesn't have that kind of ability, does he? But Chen Dakue said, what do you know? If Dan is really making money, then I support. Thanks, Dad. Humph. Chen Dakue turned his face away, lit his cigarette with a grim expression, and smoked by himself again. But buying mushrooms is too risky. Liang Xiaofan said, when I go to the market, I do see people taking mushrooms to sell, but this hardly makes any money at all. Not many people eat them, and they spoil easily. Mom, you don't need to worry. Chen An said, I have my own way. When the time comes, Xia will be too busy to handle it all, so you and Dad can help out a bit. It was now mid-August, with clear autumn skies and crisp air. Anyone who had gone through military training knew that it wouldn't rain at this time, and the sun was scorching. Buy fresh mushrooms at a low price, then dry them into dried mushrooms for easy storage and transport. Dried mushrooms sold for 10 times the price of fresh ones, but in township markets they were still fairly sluggish. Mainly because city people had started paying attention to health preservation and balancing nutrition in their diets. So the demand for mushrooms and shiitake was high. Some people in rural areas ate them too, but most just picked them and stir-fried them right away. Even if they dried them, they usually kept them for themselves, and it was hard for them to imagine that this stuff could sell for a good price. Chen An was seizing this information gap to make a big profit. We can't gather much by ourselves alone. I need a huge quantity. The more, the better. Dad, Mom, tomorrow spread the word and have everyone help collect mushrooms. Just say we'll buy fresh ones at 0.2 yuan per gene, dried ones at 0.3 yuan per gene, and semi-dry ones also at 0.2 yuan per gene. Although mushrooms had a market, in urban and rural town areas it still hadn't really taken shape, and there was no price benchmark. Some people picked them and took them to town to sell. Some sold them for 0.05 yuan per gene, others for 0.5 yuan per gene. Most prices depended on appearance and mood. But Chen An knew that after his family's dramatic upheaval in his previous life, when he went to the big city, the market price for dried mushrooms was about 1 yuan per gene. A price difference of 0.7 yuan was already a very substantial profit. Before going to sleep, Chen An said to Han Shuya, "Tomorrow Wang Defa and the other three may do something strange. No matter what they do, don't be afraid, and don't worry." "What is it?" "I'll tell you tomorrow." Then Chen An went back to his room. Early the next morning, Chen An and Dachuan pulled 1,000 kilograms of goods toward the county. Chen Dakawei and Liang Xiufen went to work in the fields. Wang Defa, Dalong, and Abayo had been exhausted from picking snails yesterday. And on top of that, after intense exercise at Widow Pan's place, their energy had been greatly depleted. They lay awake thinking about Han Shuya until almost dawn before finally falling asleep. When they got up, it was almost 10 o'clock. But luckily, at this hour the villagers were all busy in the fields. Even if something really happened, no one would hear no matter how hoarse you shouted. When Abayo came to the doorway, he saw Dachuan's mother weaving bamboo baskets in the yard. Han Shuya was helping beside her, and the twin children were playing nearby. Abayo shouted loudly, "Dachuan's mother, so you're here? What is it?" "Nothing much. Just now at the supply and marketing cooperative, I saw an old lady from Dongta who looked a lot like you. She said she came to visit you." "Really?" Hearing this, Dachuan's mother really believed it. The only person it could be was her own elder sister. She was old, and her legs and feet were stiff, so it wasn't easy for her to make a trip here. She had to hurry back, so she stopped what she was doing, turned to Han Shuya, and said, "Little sister-in-law, I need to go back for a bit. I'll come again this afternoon to finish the rest of the work." "All right." Dachuan's mother walked slowly. Very soon, Dachuan's mother left, and only Han Shuya and the two little children who still didn't understand anything were left at home. Wang Defa smiled disdainfully. "Did you think that with Dachuan's mother here, I'd have no way to act?" Dalong also rubbed his hands and let out a lewd laugh. Now Han Shuya was the only one at home. Suddenly sensing someone's presence, Han Shuya, who was sorting bamboo strips, looked up and immediately turned pale. "Chen An isn't here," she said. "I'm not looking for Chen An. I'm here for you," Wang Defa said, "to ask you for some water." The three of them chuckled as they walked inside. Han Shuya realized something was wrong. The way they used to look at her had already been off, and just now they had even sent Dachuan's mother away. Today there was no one else at home either. She wanted to pick up the two children, but Wang Defa stepped in first and blocked her. "What are you doing?" Han Shuya was so frightened that she backed away. Wang Defa said, "Let the children play outside. You come into the room with us to talk about something. Chen An owes us money." Hearing this, Han Shuya instantly felt utterly desperate.